Alright, so this was a quick request, so I thought I'd go ahead and do it. This is Campfire Stories, Wild Hog Public Poo. I got that in reverse order. We're going to go ahead and check this one out. This one came, basically, I think 2 or 3 people have asked for this on YouTube. It's one of the rare times I've been able to take a look at comments. But we're going to go ahead and get started with this one. I enjoyed the other stories that I've heard so far from these guys. Military stories are fun. Here we go.
I remember going to a party at someone's house, and I don't even know whose house it was. I remember you were there, and I had I had somehow gotten waffle-flavored cigarettes.
Okay.
Yeah, they were like maple syrup flavored.
Ugh.
I remember throwing up inside a shrub.
Yeah.
I think I have vague memories of this. Wasn't there a woman that got drunk and took off her shirt and flashed everyone?
I may have been throwing up in the shrub at the time. I would have remembered that.
If it's the same party I'm thinking of, then that's all I remember from that. And also at the end when I left the party, I was awkward and didn't know what to say, so I turned to her and said, "Thank you for the evening of entertainment."
That is the correct thing to say. I like your boobies. So we went on a field exercise at one point to the middle of frickin' nowhere.
This is another Fort
And
Polk
that's
story.
the thing that people don't understand about Fort Polk is it's huge. It's probably a couple hundred square miles.
Oh, damn.
It is a massive training area. They have like a whole fake village out there that has.
One thing that you got to understand about this fort he's talking about, if you're in the military, you've heard of Fort Polk. It is a horrible place to be. It is literally Norfolk for the Navy in my terms, because you don't want to wind up in Norfolk. But yeah, there's so few Navy bases, like real actual Navy bases where they keep the ships, that having Norfolk be trashy is, all the douchebags wind up going to Norfolk. But with Fort Polk, it's like concentrated evil and incompetence. Some likes of which I have never heard of before. I thought the stories coming out of Norfolk were bad because that's where careers go to die. But every single time I hear about an Army story about how shitty things are, for some reason, Fort Polk is always involved.
It's like 2- and 4-story buildings.
Yeah.
That has just like cameras and everything in it. Fort Polk is massive, and a lot of it is just forest and whatever. So we're out in the middle of nowhere on a field exercise, and I've been eating nothing but MREs.
You gotta shit a brick.
When I say in the middle of nowhere, I literally mean in the middle of nowhere. It was like an hour drive through heavily rutted back roads to get to.
You hear that? They're angry.
Anything. And I'm supporting an infantry company that is, man, I don't know, probably 100 yards down the road.
Okay.
For some reason, they didn't want me in their camp. I don't know why.
That guy keeps fixing my guns without my consent.
Right? They didn't. It's just baffling. Actually, the snipers would get really mad at me when I would go to fix their guns.
Yeah.
Because I have to do like annual weapons gauging on their guns, but they get really mad anytime I would touch them.
You must my zero.
Yeah, they would get really mad anytime I touched their guns, so I would have to sneak over to the companies and do annual weapon inspections on their guns when they weren't there.
I guess when your life depends on your firearm, you're understandably a little touchy.
Yeah. Anyway, they're like 100 yards down the road. I have my 5-ton truck. Because there's no field kitchen or anything, I've just been surviving off MREs, and this is day 3.
Oh.
I gotta poop real bad. This has to happen. So I'm looking around, and I realize that there's no porta potty anywhere. So I walk over to where the infantry company is. They've got their little barbed wire gate set up, and they're being all cute out there and pretending that they're actually on like a military exercise. And
They're pretending to war.
I come walk up, and they're like, "State your name and rank," and I'm just like, "Dude, okay, I gotta take a crap. I'm literally right down there. I'm the guy that fixes your guns. You remember me? I have to take a crap. Where's your porta potty? We don't have any out here." What do you mean you don't have any out here? Where do you poop? And they're like, "Oh, we just dig a hole in the ground." I go, "Fine, all right, fine, whatever." So I go walk away from where my truck is, and I find a nice tree, and I just kind of lean against it and do my business. Mm-hmm. I start hearing. It's getting louder. It's getting louder and louder. Man, why is that so freaking loud? I look over my shoulder behind me, and I can see the truck heading right towards me. And that's when I realized that I am literally pooping right next to a road.
Nice. Nice.
And it's not like it's still a dirt road.
Yeah. It just wasn't well defined. You thought you were in the wilderness?
I thought I was in the middle of the woods, but it was a dirt road. And all of Charlie Company goes rolling by, and they're all looking over the side of the truck. There's a dude pooping down there. It's like, great.
Take a picture, it'll last longer.
It's like, man, fuck you guys.
We actually had this guy. I don't know who it was, but there's nothing more distressing than bored people in the military. And we had this one guy, we called him the Phantom Shitter. He's just a disgusting human being. He would literally shit in random locations on the ship. And the Phantom Shitter was quite legitimately a menace to society for about 3 weeks, and then the Phantom Shitter just vanished into the ether. We never found out who the Phantom Shitter was, but his legacy lived on for several years.
Throw the roll of toilet paper at him. No, I'm still holding on to it. I need that to wipe. What can I throw at him? I don't have anything to throw at him. I'll throw the poop at him. I'm not picking that up. So yeah, all of Charlie Company saw me taking a crap in the middle of the woods. And then, like, a couple of weeks later, one of the guys came down to get, like, some weapons fixed. And he's like, hey, weren't you that guy that was taking a shit? And I was like, shut up. There wasn't a porta potty. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Same field exercise towards the end of it. I was sitting by my truck. I'm reading a book, and I start smelling like a campfire. That's weird. Is there, like, a forest fire going on? Because you're not allowed to have fires when you're out in the field.
I would imagine soldiers would be negligent and start fires if that were the case.
Yeah, probably. They would probably actually start a forest fire because people in the military are stupid. Couple 100 meters away, I can see fire. It's inside this infantry company's camp. So I get up and I go over there, and there is a big old fire going.
Okay.
And I'm not even kidding. There is a wild boar on a spit.
What? They caught a wild boar?
How?
Yeah.
How?
How indeed?
How? And there is a warrant officer who is standing there, who is a CW3, I think. Warrant officers only go up to 5, and you never see a 5.
No.
He's a CW3. I mean, he's probably in his, like, 40s.
I think the highest warrant I ever saw was a warrant 2, but you didn't really have warrants on ships. They had gone all the way up from... No, they weren't having that.
He's completely filthy.
Yeah.
He's covered in scratches, and he has blood all over the front of his uniform.
Okay.
What in the actual fuck happened here? Come to find out what had happened here, this CW3 was going to be getting out of the military.
And he didn't give a shit.
He had done it all.
He didn't give a shit.
He had been an airborne, gone air assault, ranger, special forces. He'd done everything.
He had a laundry list of achievements.
Yeah, the rack on his Class 8 uniform is like bigger than your freaking head.
He has to get a second rack.
Yeah. Well, he was going to be retiring from the military. Mm-hmm. And they basically were like, well, we'll put you in a cushy desk job until you're retired from the military. And he's just like, fuck that, you put me in an infantry company.
Yeah.
So he just requested to be in an infantry company, and they put him in one. Because he's a CW3, what are you going to do, say no?
Yeah.
They're out in the field one day, and there's wild boar, because they are everywhere in Louisiana. They're an invasive species. They hate them. This wild boar goes tearing ass through their camp. And this CW3 looks at the lieutenant that's standing next to him, just slaps his M4 into the lieutenant's hand and goes, hold this. Goes off into the woods.
He didn't shoot. He grappled with it to the ground.
They didn't see him for 2 days.
What?
What?
He was just gone.
All right.
And granted, that might be an exaggeration. I don't know. Because a lot of tall tales get thrown around in the military.
True.
I'm only relaying the information that was given to me.
That's a decent enough explanation for why there is a boar on a spit.
And then he comes back one day, dragging this wild boar behind him, covered in blood. Chief, where the fuck were you? And he was like, I saw that wild boar, I wanted to kill it. What? What? Crawled around on the ground, tracking down this wild boar, and eventually got close enough to it and just jumped on its back and slit its fucking throat.
Shit!
Come on.
And he's standing right there, covered in dirt and blood.
It sounds like a tall tale, but you saw him.
He is bloody as all get out. And he brought it back, and they're like, well, we don't know what the fuck to do with it. And he's like, I'll start a fire, we'll cook it up and eat it. And they're like, Chief, we can't do that. And he's like, who's going to tell me no? He's about to get out of the military, and he's a CW3.
don't give a
Nobody's
fuck.
going to tell him no except for a general, and then the general's probably going to be like, that's fucking badass right there. And he's like, shit, yeah, it is, brother. You get the hawk.
Yeah.
It just blew my mind when that happened. And that was the moment that I was like, man, I fucked up. I should have tried to go to warrant officer school. I could have done whatever the hell I wanted. Nobody would care.
Wish I could have wrestled a pig.
I was so baffled by that.
Long story short, I joined pig wrestling varsity.
Silver piping. I honestly, every time I tell that story, I feel like people are very incredulous about it.
I'm not. No, like, even Master Chiefs at E9, they would just, especially if they were getting short time, they would just not really care. Like, you would get the ones that were complete Joe Navy, but then you would get the ones that just, well, they could give a shit less, and they're going to let you know they give a shit less. They don't even care to be there.
And I fully understand, because if somebody told me that story, I would not believe it. There is no way I would believe that story. He probably wasn't gone for 2 days.
Some details may have been exaggerated, but you saw it.
He may have only been gone for a couple hours.
Yeah.
But baffling.
Yeah.
The moment I realized when I was in the military that I kind of wish that I would have gone to warrant officer school
That
or
wasn't
become
even
like
an
a
option for
helicopter
us.
pilot or something was on the convoy live fire exercise. We had helicopters that flew around with us, and they had simulated guns on them. They would go pew 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 and shoot at things. It was really cool.
All right.
But the helicopter landed before we were going to do one of the convoys, and the pilot gets out. And he gets out and takes his pilot helmet off, lights up a cigar, comes walking up to us, and he's like, all right, so you guys are the convoy we're supporting. We're going to do this, and just try not to get in our way, and don't shoot blanks at my fucking helicopter.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, I should have been a helicopter pilot. That's so cool.
So many other better jobs you could have done. Instead, you got to work with guns. Damn it, you hate guns.
I hate guns. I told you about tasting guns, right?
What?
You refresh my memory.
People would bring 50s to me, and they would be like, it's running really rough. I don't know if there's something wrong with the lock and block. So I'd run my finger across like the inside of it and get a bunch of oil on it and then stick it on my tongue to taste it. Because if I could taste metal shavings, then that meant that the tolerances were wrong.
Nice.
But then people would just constantly spread this rumor or this thing of Zach licks the inside of machine guns. Zach's eating oil in there, and I'm like, I am robot.
I'm not eating oil. I'm tasting oil to see if it's a good vintage.
I'm tasting it to see what vintage it is.
Alright. So that's the ridiculousness of that story. The wild boar story, I can believe it. I can believe it. Just based off the fact. Now, it does sound kind of incredulous, but at the same time, I know some of the stuff that, I went through when I was in the military, and some of the stuff that I saw some people do when I was in. And honestly, it's not that far-fetched, considering. But the only time I ever saw a wild animal get attempted to be roasted, we were puttering around in the Persian Gulf, and they have these fish that, when they see lights, they just skim across the top of the water. I don't even know what they're called. They look gnarly as hell. But if they skim across the top of the water, especially if they see lights, they just direct toward it. Well, that sucks if you're in a very small boat. We're going across the water about God knows how fast, and one of them jumps and comes into the boat and hits the guy right in the fucking chest. And then some brilliant guy decided, hey, I'm hungry. And he pulls out a lighter, and he sits there and he's trying to cook this thing with a big lighter. Didn't go well. And he didn't accomplish it because everybody finally told him, dude, you're an idiot. Throw that thing over the side. Speaking over the side, I'll catch you guys next time. I'll put their links down in the description below as well as my own. Have a nice one, guys.